please. We have an overflow room, so we have people in the other rooms. What we will do is go through our agenda, and we have some items on consent. Those items will free up some space in here as soon as we go through those items. So if we could go through the agenda. By the way, I'm Councilmember Jose Huizar, Chair of the Energy and Environment Committee. I'm joined by Councilmember Dennis Zine and Councilmember Koretz. And we are expecting, I think, Labange and Alarcon as well. If we could put items number 3, 4, 5, and 6 on consent. 3, 4, 5, and 6 on consent, if that's okay. Martin? Any objections to that?
Hold on a minute. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. So okay, 1 second. This item 2, what are these? And this one? 4 and against? Okay, these are all item 1s right here. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we'll do items 3, 4, 5, and 6 on consent with no objections, so ordered. Next items?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Sir, do you want to read items 3, 4, 5, and 6
Certainly.
into the agenda, into the record, and then we will go into the next items, if you could please.
Item number 3 relates to DWP report relative to authorizing an agreement with Utilities International Incorporated for software services to assist their financial planning system. Item number 4 relates to DWP report relative to authorizing amendment number 2 to an agreement with the RICO Production Print Solutions for mainframe printers and related. Item number 5 relates to DWP report and ordinance relative to the Silmar filters replacement project to establish design-build criteria. Item number 6 relates to motion Labange Huizar et al. Relative to naming the water treatment wetlands within the South Los Angeles Wetlands Park as a Jan Perry wetlands. And that completes items 3 through 6.
Thank you. So we will now go to items 1 and 2.
Okay. Item number 1 relates to City Attorney report and ordinance and status report from Bureau of Sanitation relative to regulating the use of plastic and paper single-use carry-out bags to promote the use of reusable bags. And 2 relates to motion Parks Perry relative to health and safety impacts of reusable bags.
Thank you. So what we will do is start off with a presentation from staff, and we will have questions and comments. I do want to say from the outset, and this is very important, our agenda was mistakenly did not include information with respect to the EIR. It was not properly agendized. So that means that we are not here today to speak to the EIR. We can mention it and get updates on it, but it's not really the focal point of this discussion. We have the ordinance before us, and we will act upon that ordinance today. We hope to schedule this item on the June 18th City Council agenda with a special meeting on June 17th to specifically discuss the EIR. So again, due to an administrative clerical error, we do not have the EIR before us, but we will have a special meeting on the 17th and then have everything ready on full council on June 18th. That's the goal for right now. So thank you. I'll turn it over to staff and our Public Works Commissioners.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairperson Huizar and our honorable council members. My name is Capri Maddox. I am the president of the Board of Public Works, and I'm here to discuss the city's proposed single-use bag ordinance. As you may know, in May of 2012, City Council directed the Bureau of Sanitation to complete a full EIR regarding this proposed ordinance, and I wanted to let you have a bit of an update regarding the Board of Public Works. We as a board recognize the impact of littering, the littering of single-use plastic bags and how it has an effect on the environment. Many times when we have community cleanups like those with FOLAR, I did see some representation from FOLAR here, Friends of the Los Angeles River here in the room. When they have their river cleanups, oftentimes they find the actual plastic bags wasted and littered in our waterways, which is a big problem for us. And I just wanted to let you know that the Board of Public Works has heard testimony approximately 5 hours of testimony. During the time period of 2011, we had 3 separate board meetings on this issue. And for the record, I will read in those dates, September 16th, as well as October 5th and October 12th of 2011. You should know at that time of those board meetings, we did hear a great deal of protests regarding this matter, and we had many members of the community come forward and state their support of this issue. At that time of those meetings, many of the local jurisdictions, including many in Los Angeles County, including Los Angeles County on behalf of the unincorporated areas, had adopted or were moving forward to adopting a ban on single-use bags. You should also note for the record that at least 6 states' proposed bills have failed to move forward recently. As of about a week ago, another bill submitted by Senator Padilla actually was unsuccessful, so the city is now moving forward with some of our actions. And City Council has been working on this for a long time, and we have a lot of members of the city family, some of them that are here, that have been working on this for quite some time, and I also would like to acknowledge Councilmember Alarcon in his absence, because he has been someone that's worked on this for a while as well. The City Council adopted a policy in 2008 that directed staff to move forward with the single-use plastic bag ban if the state had not taken action on this issue by 2010. As you know, that timeline has passed, but at that time a per-bag fee was not an option for the city, as the state had adopted legislation prohibiting local fees. Therefore, a local bag ban was the only option available at that time. And I think that one of the things that we should go into, and I know this is an issue in a lot of the opposition that was heard in our hearings in 2011, according to our records, is we had a number of persons from the industry that they pretty much said that there's going to be a potential job loss in the Los Angeles area if this ordinance went forward. And I'm going to give you just a recap of the hearings. One of the first items that you should know is that at our hearing, according to our records, Cal Poly testified that they were a national supplier with approximately 65% of their production in single-use grocery bags. Overall, about 5% of their production is used in the city of Los Angeles. So that's only a portion of their workload taking place in the city of Los Angeles, with a larger percentage being produce bags, which is not impacted by the ordinance, meaning obviously some of the bags that they produce may have been the single bag carry-out bags. However, a majority of their work was more in line with the produce bags, and there is no ordinance or ban on those items. Command Packaging also stated that they produce single-use plastic bags, and they also produce thicker plastic bags that are reusable. So those are bags that can be reused. Omega Extruders, they testified that they do not produce single-use plastic bags, but primarily retail bags. So that's another way where that company is not as impacted by this ban. Epsilon Plastics also testified in the Board of Public Works hearings that they do not produce single-use plastic bags, but many types of flexible packaging. And we will have more input on this matter at a later date, if necessary, from Commissioner Nutter, that was also present. He was actually present at these hearings, and I think he can provide more insight. I would also like to acknowledge and make a record that Green Vets Los Angeles, and I believe I saw representatives of Green Vets Los Angeles here, they testified in favor and stated that the ordinance would create more green jobs because the production of reusable bags is more labor intensive. And as you know, we have a number of veterans coming back home from the various wars, so we need jobs for those folks as well. And I wanted to just kind of give a recap that the board believed that based on the testimony and the information received in the hearings, they took the following action, and the board unanimously acted to recommend the mayor and city council adopt a policy banning single-use bags in the city of Los Angeles, and the board also directed Sanitation to begin the secret process and examining the implementation of the single bag ban. We're going to have a number of staff members come forward and provide information about how the bag ban is actually, the single-use bag ban policy is going to move forward, and actually the presentation will be done at this time by Karen Coca. I wanted to thank a number of the staff members. Of course, Karen Coca, Enrique Zaldivar, I believe he's here. I don't know if Alex Hilo is here. And of course, my fellow commissioners, and this would not have been possible without the work of the mayor's office and the various council members that were providing assistance. But we have a number of partners in the environmental community as well as the business community, and I think that that's something for us to look forward to and to pay attention to, is that this is not just the environmental community acting alone. It is government, it is the business community moving together with the community at large. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement before I hand it over to Karen. So I'm going to pass it over to Karen Coca at this time, and I believe she has a PowerPoint presentation. Karen, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Karen Coca, Bureau of Sanitation. I'm going to give a brief PowerPoint presentation to talk about the draft ordinance. Starting with what was the original issue that was the subject of motions over the past number of years. Every year we consume billions of single-use bags here in the city of Los Angeles. Discarded single-use bags end up in the litter stream, in the waterways, and cause various issues. And the city overall spends an enormous amount of money on methods and treatment to capture this litter and to reduce it and manage it. The city family and the city council has taken a number of actions directing staff to move forward on this issue. In 2004, there was a Los Angeles River Plastics Industry Task Force that was set up with the intent to clean up litter at the LA River. 2008, the City Council adopted a policy that the city would ban single-use plastic carry-out bags. In 2010, if the state had not acted on a statewide program, in 2010, all the state measures failed. In 2011, Sanitation was directed to begin the environmental process and prepare an implementation plan. That implementation plan went to the Board of Public Works. In 2011, as Commissioner Maddox outlined, there were several meetings, hearings on that. In 2012, that report came to City Council, and the Council directed Sanitation to conduct CEQA analysis and also requested that an ordinance be prepared by the City Attorney's Office, both of which have been completed. And in 2013, again, there were a number of state measures to create a statewide program for single-use bags, and unfortunately, none of them moved forward from their house of origin, and so there is nothing currently being considered. The project objectives, again, reduce the number of single-use bags in the city of Los Angeles, deter the use of single-use paper carry-out bags as well. That will help promote the use of reusable carry-out bags and hopefully help stimulate the industry, the folks making those, and to reduce plastic bag litter. The Bureau of Sanitation, we've been working over the years to educate people on the use of single-use bags and changing that to reusable bags. We collect all the materials in our blue bins, which is trying to keep them out of the litter stream, but we've worked with supermarkets to collect their plastic bags to promote recycling, participated in dozens of outreach events over the years. Heal the Bay has Day Without a Bag, Earth Day, America Recycles Day. There's always a reusable bag component to those. We've currently distributed over 300,000 reusable bags in the past 5 to 6 years. And in fact, those numbers are increasing. Over the last year, we probably distributed about 60,000, and the number just keeps going up, which makes us very happy because we're hoping these folks are taking them to the grocery store with them. Now, the draft ordinance, I'm just going to go over some of the major features of the ordinance. The city attorney prepared an ordinance to achieve these objectives. Ban the distribution of plastic single-use carryout bags by a certain category of establishments. Regulate the distribution of single-use paper bags by the same retailers, and promote the use of reusable bags in the city. And this ordinance, I just want to point out, mirrors the direction given by City Council. So a lot of questions come up on who's going to be regulated and who won't. So we prepared a list with a number of examples. The folks that will be regulated are grocery stores, large stores that have a pharmacy component, but they also, in general, carry a limited grocery line, such as CVS, Rite Aid. Large retail stores that have a grocery component, such as the Targets, the Walmarts now. They sell milk, bread, perishables. Convenience stores that sell milk, bread, perishables, soda, snack foods, those kinds of things, whether or not they have a liquor license. That was some language that's been in many ordinances. But the important thing is the grocery component and the perishables. So what is not regulated are restaurants and retail that does not sell a line of perishable groceries, such as Home Depot, Lowe's, Macy's, Sears, what you would think of as your traditional retail stores. The key provisions is that single-use plastic bags will be banned in those establishments that are covered under the ordinance. There will be a 10-cent store fee on single-use carry-out paper bags that will be retained by the store and used to implement the program or for outreach for the program per the ordinance. Provide reusable bags either for free or for sale. The reusable bags have to meet durability and safety standards. Has to do with avoiding heavy metal content. They have durability issues. Made sure that when they sell a reusable bag, it actually is reusable. Customers on supplemental food programs, WIC, will be available to them to receive free paper bags, so they will not have to pay the 10-cent store charge, and the stores will have to report back on the program to the city. As the ordinance currently stands, there's the first 6 months of the ordinance, there is a grace period in the large stores, and for 12 months in the small stores. The date is dependent right now on the effective date of the ordinance, so we estimate February of next year is when it would start. After the first 6 months, in large stores, single-use paper or plastic bags will be banned, and paper bags are 10 cents at large stores with grocery items. So 6 months of education, then another 6 months of free bags, then, I'm sorry, I probably wrote it wrong. 12 months, it gets confusing. After 12 months, then the 10-cent charge kicks in at the large and the small stores, because after 12 months, all stores will have plastic bags banned and charge 10 cents for paper. So that's how it's set up now. They have it in days in the ordinance, so it's 365 days, but that's basically how it's set up. So there's a period of education, there's another grace period with the free paper bags, and then the regulation becomes effective where the 10 cents for paper bags come in. And we have a timeline if that was too confusing for everybody. I'm going to skip these. And then we're going to move to Daniel Hackney, who's going to talk about the public education and outreach.
Good afternoon, Daniel Hackney, Bureau of Sanitation. The council-directed ordinance requires a public education plan component. So what the Bureau of Sanitation will be doing is a comprehensive outreach program that is simple and yet we feel will be effective. Starting with the day that the council passes the ordinance, obviously there'll be a major press conference and press release to all media outlets in the city and beyond. I would anticipate that us being the second biggest city in the United States, that this will not only get local coverage, but state and even national coverage. So I think a lot of our residents are going to hear about it right out of the gate. But on top of that, we're going to use existing email databases that we have from our programs over the years, our outreach programs, done databases for neighborhood councils to reach out to all 95 neighborhood councils, business groups, church groups, school groups, so that everybody is made aware precisely of when the ordinance is taking effect, when these timeline triggers take effect, and what their options are. We will also be partnering and working closely with the Grocers Association. We will have developed posters and educational flyers on the program in multiple languages, and we expect that those will be up at all the grocery stores. On top of that, we would hope to partner with them to put city staff at tables outside of the major stores and designated local mom and pop stores throughout the city, so that there's an actual people component to it. At that stage, we are prepared to hand out over 500,000 reusable bags for free to Angelenos citywide with the educational flyer component. Staff obviously will be prepared to answer any questions to make sure it's a smooth transition for all Angelenos. And the final component will be, as we already offer at the Bureau of Sanitation, that we have outreach staff who will be expert on this matter, who are designated to go out to any neighborhood council or community group or school group who wants us to come out and talk about the program, why we took this measure, and what the benefits are. The educational materials that will be used in it are the aforementioned 500,000 free bags, keeping in mind that we've already distributed over 300,000 free bags to Angelenos. We will have speaking points that are designed for sanitation hotline staff, 311 hotline staff. We will have a fact sheet in multiple languages, the notification email, the press release, ordinance description will go to the city website, mayor's office website, all 15 of council office websites, and the sanitation website. So Angelenos who are proficient online will be able to access all the information themselves. We will have a PowerPoint presentation like this for presentations to community groups, school groups, and as I said, we'll have a poster and a flyer in every language we can manage in LA, which is, as we know, quite a few.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I believe at this time we're opening up for questions.
Do my colleagues want to have questions now or after public comment?
Public comment.
We'll do public comment? Okay, we'll do public comment now, and then we'll come back and deliberate. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We have a number of speaker cards. We have allocated 1 minute per speaker. We will start with a general comment. Evelyn Wendell. Is Evelyn Wendell here? Okay. Martin, does CDA want to speak now? Okay, I'll call him up next.
Hi.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank Tom Labange, who's not here, but for his great work in protecting the river. I wanted to bring up the river, about how important the LA River is and how important this bag ban is to the LA River and to the Pacific Ocean. And my husband kayaked the entire length of the LA River to prove navigability, one of the kayakers, and so now, as we all know, it's protected under the Clean Water Act. And banning bags is just one of those most important factors to protect the LA River, and I am very grateful that you are considering this environmental impact report and that you will be banning plastic bags in LA. I believe that this will make a tremendous difference in the city and to appreciate the LA River and to bring our community together through our waterways. So thank you, committee.
Thank you very much. To speak on item number 2, Vince Flowers from Council District 8.
Good afternoon, Vince Flowers, Council District 8. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I will be reading a prepared statement from Councilmember Parks. In May 2012, the City Council approved a policy to ban single-use plastic shopping bags in supermarkets and select retail stores. I opposed the ban due to my deep concern for the health and welfare of the public. Consequently, I introduced Motion 11-1531-S3 in order to ensure thorough environmental impact analysis by directing the City of Los Angeles to, number 1, consider food handling protocols and precautions such as recommended safety equipment for employees and special hygienic requirements for checkout counters. Number 2, examine the associated liability issues for the City of Los Angeles and store owners. Along those lines, the University of Arizona and Loma Linda University conducted a study of the health impacts of multi-use grocery bags from the Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Tucson areas. Some of the report's key findings were, number 1, 97% of people reported never cleaning their reusable bags. Number 2, bacteria are capable of high growth rates when multi-use bags are stored in vehicles. Number 3, there is a significant risk of bacterial contamination from utilizing reusable bags to carry groceries. Furthermore, the California State Legislature has rejected statewide plastic bag ban proposals due to concerns about the overall economy, jobs, consumer choice, as well as health. Therefore, I recommend either additional independent studies or at minimum a professional independent meta-analysis of the existing research studies. In my judgment, the aforementioned analysis will help both local and state legislators to make the most informed choice possible regarding the health and liability issues involved in this critical policy matter. Respectfully, Bernard C. Parks, Council Member 8th District. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we will call 4 people up at a time. If you come up, take a seat, and whoever sits down first gets to speak first. James Stewart, Jack Allen, Adrian Dove, Abad Durantes. Welcome, sir. Why don't you begin?
Good afternoon. James Stewart, Panorama City. How dare you even consider this ordinance? This city council has a history of engaging in social engineering, and that's exactly what this is. What bags to use when I go to the grocery store is my decision, not yours. Whether this ordinance is good or bad for the environment is irrelevant. This city council does not have the right to pass it. You may have the legal authority, but the right and the legal authority are 2 different things. You were elected to administer this city, not tell us how to live our lives. You do not make these decisions for us. We make them for ourselves. I'm interested to see that you did not include the large stores in this ban. Can you imagine what Macy's would do if you had to tell Macy's customers to bring their own bags? Ton of bricks doesn't begin to establish. Stop this nonsense now.
Next. Thank you.
My name is Adrian Dove. I'm chairman of the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE, California. We sponsor the Martin Luther King Parade. And our concern is for the civil rights community, for the poor people, Latinos, African Americans, and others. And that this 10-cent charge on each bag, we're doing two things: banning plastic and putting a tax on paper that goes not into the tax, not into the city treasury, but goes to the grocery stores. And so it means that if you need double bags hereafter, like a lot of people use paper and plastic, you would have to pay 20 cents for each bag of groceries. And that is an inflationary cost. And the second item, of course, our biggest concern is that jobs. These jobs are not all in LA City. They're in Huntington Park and Bell Gardens and Compton, but there's more than 2,000 jobs. And I heard the argument that it's not that many, and that's an argument against doing this act. So we urge you to we urge you to vote against this proposition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack Allen, Pacific Palisades. As a lifelong environmentalist, I find this ordinance the cure is worse than the disease. Environmentally, it's a bad ordinance. I traveled downtown today, and I noticed that in my 20-mile trip, I didn't see one plastic bag. That wasn't true 5 years ago, when we really were littered with them. And I attributed this to the fact that the city finally allowed people to recycle the bags in the blue bins. But unfortunately, the city has spent a lot more money and time trying to get people to use reusable bags rather than recycle the existing plastic bags. So in my opinion, you adopt this ordinance, you'd be shooting yourself in the environmental foot. Put this to the vote of your voters. Let them vote on it. Don't shove it down their throat.
Thank you. Next.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Abad Dorantes, trabajo para Crown Poly. Es una gran compañía, el señor Richard Alarcón estuvo el año pasado.
Un momento, deje que le va a dar la interpretación. Can we have 2 minutes, please? You going to interpret for him?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mi nombre es Abad Dorantes, trabajo para esta gran compañía Crown Poly.
My name is Abad Cortaz. I work for Crown Poly.
Yo vengo a decirles que nosotros, los productores de bolsa de plástico, no somos asesinos del medio ambiente.
We are employees of Crown Poly, and we're here to let you know that we are not people that kill animals.
Nosotros no contaminamos el medio ambiente como lo dice la gente. El señor Richard Alarcón estuvo el año pasado en Crown Poly.
Our company does not pollute or has waste contaminated our environment. Richard Alarcón was there in our company last year. He visited our company and he liked it.
Nosotros todo el producto que hacemos se vuelve a reciclar cuando no sirve y no se tira al océano, como muchas compañías sí están asesinando el medio ambiente y eso no lo dicen. La compañía BP derramó millones de galones de petróleo en el océano de México.
Crown Poly provides bags that are reusable, that don't contaminate it like in other places in Mexico or different places that contaminate the earth.
Día a día se ven las noticias que muchos padres matan a sus hijos y a sus esposas porque quedan sin trabajo, que puede suceder con Crown Poly si cierran la compañía.
There has been in the news that a lot of parents have committed suicide for not having a job and not being able to provide for their families.
Las bolsas que quieren meter a este país, las de telas, son fabricadas en China. Las ganancias, ¿a dónde quedan? En China. Nosotros vivimos en Estados Unidos, nosotros fabricamos para Estados Unidos y las ganancias quedan aquí en Estados Unidos.
We work for Crown Poly and we make bags in Crown Poly, and they want to make bags in China and transport them here. The money that they make, it's staying in China, not here in California, in the United States. This is where we live and we work.
Yo quiero demostrar con hechos, no con palabras. Si el señor oficial puede venir tantito, le quiero demostrar las ganancias de Crown Poly, cómo son repartidas para los empleados.
I can let you know that Crown Poly provides earnings for the company, benefits.
Mi cheque de los bonos del año pasado.
Okay, gracias. Ya se le acabó el tiempo. Sí, gracias. Okay. Thank you very much. ¿Quiere que le regrese esos papeles a después?
Sí, espero.
The next speakers are Alicia Ortiz, Carlos Cruz, Leticia Salcedo, and Rashid Yuli. Welcome. Why don't you could start, sir.
Okay.
What's your-
My name is Rashid Yule. I've been living in Los Angeles for all my life.
real check?
I've been working for Crown Poly for 3 years. I'm a United States Navy veteran. This bag ban doesn't make sense to me. As I remember years ago, they wanted to get rid of paper to save the environment. Now they want to save the environment again by getting rid of plastic bags. I make plastic bags. I supply for my family making plastic bags. I didn't get the single-use bag. I don't get that because plastic bags are multiple-use bags. My benefits, they help my family, they keep them safe, they keep them healthy. These bags that they want to bring in, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Cruz. I'm the Executive Director of the Bell Gardens Chamber of Commerce. A city of 2.5 square miles, Bell Gardens has over 1,500 businesses and a population of over 42,000. Our association prides itself on representing business and community. Respectfully, I'm here to oppose any ban on plastic bags in Los Angeles. Plastic bag recycling and manufacturing provides good jobs for thousands of working families. Southeast cities employ almost 2,000 of these jobs. We estimate 10,000 individuals will be impacted by loss of homes, increased poverty, which will lead to poor health in our community. Plastic bag bans and taxes also hurt small business. Consumers who have the ability to travel outside the tax jurisdiction will shop elsewhere. Plastic bags are 100% recyclable and are reused by 9 out of 10 people, and my grandma is proof of that.
Mi nombre es Leticia Saucedo.
My name is Leticia Saucedo.
No nada más represento a mi compañía Crown Poly, sino también a mi comunidad.
She not only represents Crown Poly, but her community as well.
Mi compañía da muchos empleos ahorita.
Crown Poly provides a lot of work for all the employees that work there.
Y la solución no es quitar las bolsas de plástico, sino reciclarlas.
And the solution is not to remove them, it's to reuse them, to recycle them.
Yo creo que poniendo más anuncios en las televisiones y en las radios, podemos ayudar a la gente a concientizar a reciclar.
To educate the community, radio stations, TV, to educate them on how to recycle their bags.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Delicia Ortiz. I am a resident of Whittier, California for the past 20 years. I am a single mother of 3, and I have been working for Crown Poly for close to 8 years already. Crown Poly provides health insurance for my children, 3 children that I have, and one of my youngest daughters needs her insurance for her eye vision because she needs to see a specialist. So Crown Poly provides that for me at an affordable price. If Crown Poly would not offer the insurance that we have now, it would cost me quite $100 for me to be able to pay for her visits, as well as my co-workers. It's putting in jeopardy their jobs as well as my job. So I would ask for you to consider and think of all the employees, not just Crown Poly, but the rest of the companies that make and manufacture plastic bags. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next speakers are Carlos Medrano, Charity Frank, David Zemai, and Carla Rodriguez.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Carlos Medrano. I live and work right here in LA. I've been working for Crown Poly for 6 years. Before I started working here, I couldn't find a good job, that I could support my family with. Now I have a good job. I started as an operator. Right now I'm a supervisor, and I have about 30 people working under me. The whole company has about 300 employees. That's 300 families that are dependent on this job. If we lose our job, and it's not that easy to find a good job right now that pays good money and have good benefits. So I just want to tell you guys to reconsider, and think about this, because a lot of people are going to be affected by it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Charity Fink. I'm representing as Los Angeles resident. I do not approve of the ban, personally. In Santa Monica, I'm aware that they are already charging for the plastic bags. I've experienced it myself. Went to the grocery store and wasn't aware of the bans, and they asked for me to pay for all my bags. Luckily, I was going in there to grabbing a few things, and I could toss in my purse, but personally, if I was going in there and buying a whole bunch of groceries, personally, that's so not fair to the rest of the community. If you're buying a whole bunch of groceries, no one has extra money to pay for bags also. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. David Simhai. I'm the Vice President of Research and Development at Crown Poly. I'm here to oppose the ban on plastic bags. I myself am a man of science, and I go based on the facts. The facts really are that banning plastic bags will cause more harm to the environment, as plastic bags require less energy and are made from natural gas, not oil. They're also reused multiple times at home as trash bags and other products. At the end, though, what we're talking about is jobs. As you all know, President Obama and the U.S. government is spending trillions of dollars trying to create jobs. Over 1,000 Angelenos currently rely on the plastic bag manufacturing and recycling industry to provide for their families, including myself. Why are you choosing to kill jobs in your own city based on total misinformation? Instead of helping, you are really looking to hurt this great city of LA. The LA city government should be working to expand manufacturing jobs for Angelenos, not threaten them. Please make your decisions based on facts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carla. I work for Crown Poly. I do oppose on the banning plastic bags due to my husband and I working at the same company. If you guys were to ban the plastic bags, it would definitely affect us, not only us, my kids. So I ask if you guys please do not ban it, because I will lose my job and my kids, we'll lose our home, and that'll be tragic. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Joseph, Sonia Session, Kirsten James, and Jessica Duboff. Welcome. Good start.
Should I wait for these?
Oh, you could start.
I'm Stephen Joseph. I'm counsel for the Save the Plastic Bag Coalition. We oppose the ordinance. The draft ordinance states that all covered stores must provide paper bags free of charge to WIC and food stamp recipients. Now that means that stores in African American and Latino areas are going to be providing almost all of the paper bags free of charge, because very much the vast majority of people in those areas are on WIC or food stamp programs. Now the cost to those stores is going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, because they cannot pay the additional cost for paper bags. Has the city outreached to those stores and asked them for their opinion? Does anybody know? Because I haven't heard anything about that. Now, to tell a store that it must provide something free of charge to someone just because they're poor is unconstitutional. You cannot tell a store to give something away. Free of charge is something that you must remove from the ordinance. You have a constitutional issue, and potentially a lawsuit over that matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it's not just African Americans and Latinos who are on WIC. Thank you.
Mr. Wizard,
Yes, Mr. Lacon.
you said the vast majority of people are on WIC in these stores. Do you have documents to prove that?
No, I know that the stores have told us that they have...
I'm not asking for I'm not asking for anecdotal. I'm asking whether you have documentation of that,
a document with me today.
to prove that.
Well, I didn't come in with a document, but I'll tell you what I do know.
Well, I consider that a racist comment.
Well, can I tell you what I do know in response?
No.
Well, if you won't let me respond, you and I know that those stores are being forced to give free of charge,
Sir,
no compensation for them. Who's going to cover the cost of
you're
that?
out of order, sir. I'm sorry, but the way these committees work, the committee members have allowed to speak when they so choose. That's the way it's structured. Public commenters have 1 minute to speak unless they're asked a question, and that's been solved. So next speaker, please.
That's the question.
Good afternoon. My name is Kirsten James, and I'm with Heal the Bay. On behalf of Heal the Bay, we want to thank you all for your many efforts in getting to where we are today. As you know firsthand, it has been a very long road in getting here. The efforts on a bag ordinance started back in 2004 when Councilmember Reyes introduced a motion to the Bureau of Sanitation to explore this issue. Since that time, we have learned a lot. We know what works and what doesn't. For example, voluntary programs don't work, recycling doesn't solve the problem. We also know that 76 municipalities are currently covered under bag ban ordinances. And you will hear by some of my colleagues that these ordinances are working. Of note, based on experience, we do not think we need a 6-month education and grace period. Enough has already been done. As you know, a little over a year ago, the council asked to move forward with this issue after much discussion. The real debate and vote has already occurred, in our opinion. Thus, we ask you to move forward as soon as possible with certifying the EIR, the ordinance, and moving this to full council as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sonia Session. I'm a student. I attend Spelman College, but I'm originally from Los Angeles. And I do not approve the ban on plastic bag use. I know personally in my home, plastic bags are golden. We recycle them all the time. We use them to transport things for little kids, for trash bags, all these different things. And I know that's very true for many households that I know. Also in school, I would like to, go to the grocery store more often. I'll have a little job next semester and, eat healthier. But unfortunately, my finances don't really support having extra taxes. A couple of cents here for now a paper bag, a couple of cents, gas is always rising. Public transportation is also always rising. So I don't feel that this is a solution to the environmental problem because pollution is going to be pollution. Next thing you know, you're going to be finding brown paper bags in LA River. So I think more education on recycling plastic bags and making more sustainable plastic bags would really help.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Duboff. I'm here on behalf of the LA Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber advocated in favor of the elimination of single-use plastic bags last year because we support taking steps to reduce our waste and clean our oceans and environment while still recognizing the economic realities for businesses large and small. I want to thank the Council for working with our local businesses to implement a carry-out bag policy that helps the city achieve its environmental goals and protects our members. Moving forward with the LA County model, which bans single-use plastic carry-out bags and mandates a 10-cent retailer-retained charge on single-use paper bags, will conform the city with the rest of the region and helps businesses avoid a patchwork system that is bad for customers and bad for business. We also appreciate this committee's willingness to reconsider the 6-month grace period where plastic is banned and paper would have been free, a policy that would have been a hardship for businesses in the city. We urge this committee to move forward as quickly as possible to bring uniformity to the region and hopefully spur statewide action. Thank you.
Thank you. Rhodes Stevenson, Sarah Sheehy, Stanley Jeff, and Rosemary Jenkins.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Rhodes Stevenson. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the LA River, which I've discovered recently, and I've done some hikes along Sepulveda Basin and Glendale Narrows. I also discovered Friends of LA River, and they had a cleanup on the river here just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I went to Glendale Narrows. There must have been 100 people there pulling everything from truck beds to plastic bags out of the river. Enormous amounts of trash in there, and a lot of it is plastic bags. Plastic bags are onerous because they blow around, and they also get caught in the trees when the water level is high. So I think for the health of the river and the bay and the ocean, this ban on single-use plastic bags will be warranted.
Thank you. Next.
Rosemary Jenkins, I am grateful that not too long ago you unanimously supported getting LA off coal. Today I appreciate another opportunity to speak before you, this time on the issue of banning plastic bags in Los Angeles. Our city has been in the forefront on many major social and environmental issues. Banning the use of plastic bags would set us once again as a role model for the nation and the rest of the world. For those who would complain that they need handles to carry groceries because they walk, bicycle, or take a bus, canvas bags are both durable and a more than satisfactory alternative. For those who say canvas is not healthy because of their germ carriers, a good wash is an answer to that. On the other hand, to those that say that plastic bags clog up our sewer systems and create plastic islands in the sea, which affect wildlife and our lives, this ban is a partial answer. To those who say that the manufacture of plastic bags requires the use of polluting chemicals and other agents, this ban is a partial answer as well. I urge you to vote to support the ban.
Thank you. Next.
Stanley Jaffe, Earthwise Bag Company. I believe the summary provided by the Commissioner earlier on already refutes the issue about job loss by the plastic bag manufacturers here in California, in Los Angeles. 3 of the bag manufacturers based in the area already produce reusable bags and are listed as approved suppliers of reusable bags in up to 39 municipalities in California. A ban on single-use plastic bags will potentially increase the demand for reusable bags, and that could result in more jobs for the plastic bag manufacturers, since they're already making those, including the company represented here today. Of the single-use plastic bags these companies make, most are sold outside of California, so this production will be unaffected by the LA City plastic bag ban. Therefore, the evidence, does not support a claim that a ban will cause job loss. The other point on the low-income neighborhoods around the country, in my experience, my company has sold bags for 6 years around the United States, and contrary to popular belief, low-income areas buy more bags than they do in upper-income neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sarah Sheehy with the California Grocers Association. Moving forward with the LA County model, which bans single-use plastic carry-out bags and mandates a 10-cent retailer retained charge on single-use paper bags, will conform LA City with the rest of the region and help us avoid a patchwork system that is bad for our customers and bad for business. We also appreciate this committee's commitment to delete the 6-month grace period where plastic is banned and paper would have been free, a policy that would have been devastating for our stores and detrimental to the environment. We are committed to work with the city not only to educate residents on the components of the carry-out bag policy, but to also educate residents about maintaining safe, sanitary, and clean reusable bags. Finally, we urge this committee and the full City Council to move as quickly as possible and enact this legislation in June, which will bring uniformity to the region and spur statewide action. We have been strong partners for a statewide solution and strongly believe that action from the City of Los Angeles will speak volumes in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Bailey, Catherine Benz, Aubrey Dondick, Adrian Martinez.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Glenn Bailey. I am speaking as an individual today. Before I forget, I'd like to present to the representative of Encino a reusable bag the Encino Neighborhood Council has been distributing for 5 years to our constituents, and I hope all the other neighborhood councils are doing that as well. First of all, it's unfortunate the state legislature hasn't taken action over many years. This is a good step in the right direction, and that's for you, Councilman Kretz. It's Encino. You can share it, but be sure you get it to everybody. So in my remaining seconds, I just want to say, as Vice Chair of the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition, I pledge that we will assist the city's effort for public education with the 95 neighborhood councils to reach out to our various stakeholders within the city to help them become aware of this new program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Benz. I'm with Heal the Bay. First, I would just like to thank the committee for its commitment to environmental stewardship in this issue. And I just want to briefly address the impacts of plastic waste in our community and our outreach efforts associated with this measure. All Los Angeles residents are impacted in multiple ways by plastic bag waste, whether we live in inland communities or on the coast. First, plastic bag litter blights our communities, and people take pride in their neighborhoods and don't want to see this waste present, whether it's in neighborhood parks or on their local beach. And then we pay for cleanup costs borne by local governments. In California, we're spending as much as $103 million per year in cleanup costs to keep plastic bags from becoming litter and marine debris. This is an unnecessary cost passed on to all families and individuals. Outreach to the public will also be an important component of the ordinance's success, and Heal the Bay has worked with the city to do outreach pursuant to the Day Without a Bag in neighborhoods like Hollywood, Pacoima, Highland Park, and will continue to do so. So I would just urge you to move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Los Angeles Council members. My name is Aubrey Dondick. I'm an incoming senior at Santa Monica High School, member of Team Marine, a group of young environmental scientists and activists. I'm here to stress the importance of this bag ban ordinance. Team Marine and I conducted a research observing over 50,000 patrons at 5 different grocery stores over a span of 19 months before and after the bag ban. Comparing pre-ban versus post-ban data, plastic bags dropped 70 percentage points, this resulting to no bag and reusable bags significantly increasing. Also, I would like to acknowledge that Team Marine conducted another study of 4,000 observations this past April. Our bag data has concluded that paper bag usage dropped 1.6 percentage points since the previous observation in September 2012. This means that paper bag is indeed going down and bag bans are very effective. Please consider this information when making your vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Adrian Martinez, and I'm here on behalf of the Natural Resources Defense Council, and I'm also here on behalf of the Don't Waste LA Coalition, which includes more than 30 organizations ranging from Lane to Sierra Club to the Teamsters. We're here today to support swift action on approving single-use plastic bag ban in Los Angeles. This is an important issue for this council. The Bureau of Sanitation and the Board of Public Works have done a great job doing significant technical analysis and support to make the case that this is the right move for LA. It's time for LA to be a leader, and I encourage this city council to vote on this soon, which means this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yegig Keshishian, Jim Craig, Louis McAdams, and Graham Hamilton.
Good afternoon. Eric Keshishian with the Central City Association. As business leaders, we recognize the importance of being environmentally responsible and adapting to 21st century expectations about how we conduct our business. We therefore ask the city to move forward with a ban consistent with the countywide model. This would be the preferred alternative for the city because it will create less confusion for shoppers and fewer headaches for large supermarket chains. And it will achieve all of the objectives of the City of Los Angeles' single-use carry-out bag ordinance as encapsulated in the final EIR. This is a workable compromise that we can stand by, namely to align the city's policy with the County of LA and to protect the current exemptions as enumerated in the project summary of the final EIR. This will ensure that the city achieves its significant environmental goals without sacrificing business opportunities within the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Jim Craig. I'm the director of Green Vets Los Angeles. It's a veterans charity. We sew cloth shopping bags at the local VA hospitals. And here is proof. We've created over 140 jobs just this last year alone. And the VA is so excited that the VA is working on expanding our program to other VA hospitals. Not only are we creating jobs, creating cloth shopping bags is labor intensive. You create, with an order for 100,000 bags, jobs for 40 people. 100,000 bags is less than 1 hour on one of those large plastic bag manufacturing machines. We're creating jobs for families here. The veterans is just one portion of this. I'm also a member of the sewing community. I can tell you that the LA Garment District is very happy about the number of potentially thousands of jobs that will be created by the demand for cloth shopping bags throughout the fashion industry down to the baseline bag industry. Thank you. We greatly appreciate your support for this.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Louis McAdams. I'm president of Friends of the Los Angeles River. 24 years ago, we started the LA River cleanup. The first time we had about 10 people show up, although I'd called for 10,000. This year, Friends of Los Angeles River brought about 4,000 people down to the river for its annual May cleanup. We've managed to get rid of things, the charismatic megafauna, the shopping carts are mostly gone, the telephone booths, the half of Volkswagens, the hot tubs, all that stuff is gone. And gone into big waste bins that's provided by Friends of the Los Angeles River. What we have not been able to get rid of is plastics. Plastic wraps itself around the trees, plastic wraps itself in the leaves, birds get caught in it, humans try, like with everything we've been able to come up with to get rid of plastics. It's not going anywhere, you got to stop it at the source, it'll be in the Los Angeles River, otherwise forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Graham Hamilton. I am the chairman of the West Los Angeles Malibu chapter of the Surfrider Foundation, and I would like to start off by thanking Council Members Zine and Alarcon for their environmental stewardship over the years. You guys will be missed. It's really a mystery that our grandparents and great-grandparents were able to avoid this bacterial apocalypse that so many people seem to think is going to happen with the implementation of a single-use plastic bag ban. Despite the best intentions of anyone to reuse, recycle, or dispose of single-use plastic bags, they still find a way into our environment. I've been leading beach cleanups with the Surfrider Foundation for years, and plastic bags are one of the #1 culprits that we pick up on our beaches. And lastly, I would just like to say that nobody remembers the people that stand in the way of progress, whether it's social, economic, or environmental, and you have an opportunity to help lead Los Angeles in an important piece of environmental legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Caldwell-Durr. Bill Hickman, I know you got to correct me on that. Leslie Taminen. There's no name on this. There's a plastic bag ban, that's the name. So we'll skip on that card. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Cadwallader, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Surfrider Foundation South Bay chapter. And I would like to point out that we do, as Graham said, beach cleanups regularly. I take a group of high school students to do water sampling in the Bayona wetlands regularly, and every single time I go there, I pull plastic bags out of the water. And that's gotten through screens, fences, whatever. They're always there, and people are always cleaning it up. I would also like to say that there's a lot of legal action taking on what I consider frivolous matters, and for instance, the bacteria in the bags has been proven that that research was faulty. I've been using reusable bags for many, many years, and I leave them in the trunk of my car, and I'm going to fess up, I've only washed a couple of times. I have not gotten sick, and I don't know nobody who has, so I urge you to please pass this measure.
Thank you. Next.
Hi. Leslie Tamminen with Seventh Generation Advisors. Some new statistics for you since our last meeting. San Jose City 2012 litter survey indicates that plastic bag litter has been reduced by 89% in the storm drains, 60% in the creeks and rivers, and 59% in city streets and neighborhoods when compared to pre-ordinance stats. Moreover, recyclers there report a 35% or greater reduction in downtime associated with plastic bags jamming screens. Reusable bag usage has skyrocketed from 4% to 62%. You've probably heard LA's stats, 94% reduction in plastic and 25% in paper. China, since 2008, has decreased by 67 billion bags. We can do it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bill Hickman with the Surfrider Foundation, and the time has come to follow through on the commitment to help reduce plastic pollution with a reusable bag ordinance. Just recently, the Ocean Conservancy released their stats from Coastal Cleanup Day in 2012, and over 1 million plastic bags were picked up off coastlines worldwide on one day. As Graham and Craig alluded to, plastic bags are a top 5 item at beach cleanups locally, so it's a global issue and local issue, as we all know. All the tools are there to finish your promise. You've researched the issue and know all the arguments lead to the need for this ordinance. We urge the City Council to move forward quickly to finalize the ordinance. Please agendize the item for a full City Council soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Aro Vasquez, Doug Arsenault, Lauren Akiem, Sarah Sikich.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Aura Vasquez. I'm here representing the Be Oakland campaign from the Sierra Club. And I'm here in support of the citywide ordinance banning single-use plastic bags and also urging you to consider the environmental report that you guys have been working on. But before that, I'd like to thank Councilmember Alarcon and also Councilmember Zine. You both are going to be missed for your stewardship on environmental issues. Also, I would like to acknowledge the hard work of Councilmember Koretz and together with the Chair, Jose Huizar, on this issue. There is no time to go back. We must move forward. Cleaning up single plastic bag costs LA a lot of money. Each year, the county flood control district spends about $24 million on littering prevention, cleanup, and education programs. About the health issues concerning the reusable bags, I trust this council and I trust the citizens of LA that they will they will do what it takes to protect the environment, our packets, and the hygiene of our own reusable bags. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good afternoon, distinguished council members. I'm Doug Arsenault of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. FICA wants to thank the committee and the full council for working with our member businesses to implement a reasonable carry-out bag policy that helps to achieve the city to achieve its environmental goals without hindering its economic goals. We are proud to support the city's choice to move forward with the LA County model in order to allow retailers to recoup the cost of compliance and expand bag recycling and sanitation education programs. We also appreciate this committee's commitment to eliminate the 6-month grace period where paper would be distributed for free, a policy that would have been devastating for our retailers. We hope that the committee will uphold this commitment and not divert the charge based on reasoning that the city has not yet developed monitoring mechanisms. Such a diversion would turn the bag policy into an unfunded mandate on city grocers at a time when our city is trying to end food deserts by attracting them to these areas. We recognize that the city is struggling to maintain necessary resources to implement the council's ambitious policies. The city should consider the business community's multiple proposals on revenue rather than shift costs to city businesses. We urge the council to move forward as soon as possible, hopefully in June, to enact this carry-out bag ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Sikich. I'm the Science and Policy Director of Coastal Resources for Heal the Bay. I'm here just to encourage you to take action today and agendize this as quickly as possible. It's great to hear that you're looking at June 17th and 18th for moving forward to full council. Plastic bags blight our urban environments. You can't drive down the freeway here in LA without seeing them lining the side of the freeway and along the off-ramps. You can't walk down a community street without seeing them littering the neighborhood and in our parks, and it's time that we do something about it. Due to their lightweight nature and the fact that they last indefinitely, single-use plastic bags often end up as litter. And a recent characterization study of storm drains in the LA River estimated that plastic bag litter made up to as much of 25% of that litter stream. So it's a big part of it. Action's been taken around the world. At least 40 countries and municipalities and local governments around the world have banned plastic bags. I recently went to South Africa. I was pleasantly pleased to see that they had banned plastic bags. People seem to be coping just fine, bringing their reusable bags. That country's faced by a lot of issues, and this was one that they could deal with. So I encourage you to take action. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Lauren Akiem, and I'm a research and policy analyst with the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, and here speak on behalf of Lean as well as the Don't Waste LA Coalition. I would first like to thank the committee for its leadership on this important and critical environmental matter, as well as issues such as Don't Waste LA, and we are here to urge the continued and expeditious progress on this issue. The Don't Waste LA Coalition is committed to the transformation of LA's waste and recycling system to become a national model that achieves our city's zero waste goals. And reducing the amount of waste produced is critical to achieving those zero waste goals. It is absolutely necessary that we capture and that we
prevent the production of these plastic bags rather than trying to capture and recycle them, which, as has been spoken before, is extremely difficult. So thank you again for your leadership on this matter and the continued progress of this issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Martin Bones?
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Bolnes. I'm a Crown Poly employee. Been working there less than a year, almost a year. And I just wanted to say how much this job, how much it would affect me to lose a job. Not only me, but all the employees that work there, all the families, that are going to be I'm sorry. I grew up all over LA County, and I know a lot of people all over LA County, and one thing I know is that most people, I still keep contact with my friends, and one thing I know is that many people are looking for jobs right now, and I think at this moment when California needs to make more jobs, I think it will be bad to take away jobs. It will actually cause more of a problem, and thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we go to question and comments. Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank a few people, particularly Capri Maddox and the Board of Public Works for all their great work on this, Enrique and his staff, and contractors for all the hours they've put in and all the public meetings that they've done and all the outreach to get us here. And I want to thank the mayor and his staff for all the effort they've put in to push this forward. And especially the folks who've been working so hard on this issue for years, like Heal the Bay and Surfrider and Sierra Club and Environment California, NRDC, and other folks who've been pushing for this for many, many years. And the business groups like the California Grocers Association, the Chamber, CCA, FICA, everybody's really come together on this issue, so I greatly appreciate that. One thing I want to emphasize is that when the LA County plastic bag ban went into effect, the 10-cent charge for paper bags resulted in a very significant overall reduction of 34% between 2009 and 2012. And since then, the county's released new information that the usage has continued to decline, which is great. So we may not even need to do the next step, which we had called for in my original motion, which was to look at a complete ban on paper bags as well, because if this goes as well as we hope, that won't even wind up being necessary. There is one small adjustment to the proposed ordinance language that I'd like to make. In section 195-01, the definition of recyclable paper single-use carry-out bag, I'd like to add number 4, contains no old-growth fiber. And that provision is in the LA County ordinance, and I agree that it's essential for us to protect our old-growth forests and not use them for items like bags that we only use once or twice. So that's my only small technical change. Are we doing both 1 and 2 at the same time?
Yes, we're doing 1 and 2 at the same time.
Okay. There's a lot that I want to address on item 2, which is the motion on health impacts of reusable bags. I know Councilmember Parks has been very concerned about making sure the public is educated about any health impacts of using reusable bags. And in a way, I don't blame him. The plastics industry has put out a lot of misinformation out there designed to scare people away from this concept. And we've taken a look at many of these so-called studies and haven't found much that's actually very scientific about them. I think it's important to say whenever there's an issue that has a lot of money opposing it, if some kind of study comes out, it's important to consider the source before you automatically jump to believe it. The University of Arizona Loma Linda report even says on page 1, the authors would like to thank and acknowledge the American Chemistry Council for for providing funding to support this study. That's obviously the big plastics lobby group. And in this report, I don't remember much about my science classes when I was there, but I do remember that in order to get good scientific data for this kind of study, you'd have to sample certainly over 1,000 plastic bags. This study sample included 84 bags. It was never peer-reviewed, and that's pretty bad science and irresponsible to release to the public. Now, after the so-called Oregon norovirus scare, my office emailed the author of the report, Bill Keene, to ask if all the press reports were accurate. And here's what he's written back, and I've passed along copies to the committee members. Hopefully they've seen it, and we've entered this email into the record. Bill Keene says, quote, "Keep in mind that a lot of media reports got a bit off topic. Number one, the story has nothing to do with disposable bags, reusable bags, or anything similar. It's about how when the norovirus infected people vomit, they shower their surroundings with an invisible fog of viruses, viruses that can later infect people who have contact with those inanimate objects. In this case, it was a reusable bag and its contents, sealed packages of Oreos, Sun Chips, and grapes, but it could have just as easily been a disposable plastic bag, a paper bag, a cardboard box, the flush handle on the toilet, the sink, the floor, or nearby countertops," end quote. He goes on again, quote, "The people got sick because they ate the food that involved touching the packages that were in the bag. Probably some of them never even touched the bag itself, but they all touched and ate at least one of the chips, cookies, or grapes," end quote. Quote, "The real message, if there is one, is one, don't store food in bathrooms, or if you must, take it out before people start vomiting or having diarrhea in the room," end quote. He also says that regular washing of reusable shopping bags is a good idea, and I agree. But let's not take my word for it. I've asked a real expert to come assure us today, David Dacey, the Deputy Director of the Acute Communicable Disease Control Program for the LA County Department of Public Health. I'd like to ask if Mr. Dacey would come up to the table and answer a few questions. Thank you for coming
Good afternoon.
to join us.
Glad to be here.
I assume you've looked into these current concerns yourself, and so I would ask you, what's the communicable disease risk from the use of reusable bags?
Well, any object that is touched by human beings has a potential for getting contaminated with the germs that humans carry, and for that matter, anything that touches animal products, such as food items, chicken, beef, fish, and so on, that are known to carry bacteria on a regular basis. And so anything that we touch can be contaminated. The question is it contaminated to a level that can transmit to other people? Can it be alleviated by taking hygienic measures and getting rid of that risk or lowering whatever risk there is? And so in theory, yes, a reusable bag could become contaminated, but the fact is there are no published studies of any outbreak associated with the use of such items that's in the English literature, according to a number of us who've looked into that subject.
Are you even aware of any cases where routine use of reusable bags has resulted in...
It's almost an impossible issue to study because it's not the kind of question that's routinely asked of cases of some of these diseases that are reported by public health law and investigated by the public health department that I work for. To do that kind of a study would be extremely difficult in order to tease out all of the other exposures a person may have in coming in contact with the bacteria or the virus in question.
Are you aware of any increase in communicable diseases in the LA County area that has been covered by the plastic bag ban?
I'm sorry to say it's not the kind of question we're prepared to answer, but normally when we investigate outbreaks of disease, there are obvious things going on that would explain how the germs got into the food and so on. In terms of an increase across the board that didn't lead to an obvious outbreak, in fact, most of the enteric diseases, or diseases of the intestinal tract, that we investigate have been dropping in rates for many, many years, probably because of a coalition of activities happening at the production level with efforts by the Food and Drug Administration and things like that, and all the way down to the local level, which is the personal responsibility in the kitchen of the people that buy and prepare the food.
Any health problems that you're aware of in China from their reduction of 67 billion plastic bags? Have you heard anything? Is there any discussion of this anywhere in the world having occurred?
Not in anything I'm reading, but that's certainly a very small part of the literature.
Well, thank you, Dr. Daisy.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Well, may I offer a comment?
Oh, certainly.
Your staff made a presentation about developing an education plan, and I would invite you to approach the Public Health Department with assistance if you'd like us to, because there are differences between bags that are woven out of cotton or poly or blend that can be thrown in the wash machine, and those that are plasticized and cannot be literally washed in a machine but need to be cleaned in a different manner. And so the message may be different depending on the type of bag that's going to be promoted, and we'd be very glad to assist you with that.
And actually, that fits in well with something I'd like to amend also. In Section 195.01 definitions, letter J, the reusable bag definition, I'd like to add bag care and washing instructions to the reusable bag tags, and maybe you can help us develop that. And of course, I know Councilmember Parks and others have been advocating for public education on this issue, and hopefully that tag will help to alleviate any concerns. I mean, as we said, I don't think anybody is aware of any outbreak related directly to reusable bags. And I've been using them for many years. Obviously, I haven't gotten sick and died either, and I haven't heard about this with anybody else that's used reusable bags for years.
That's actually not the kind of evidence that scientists go by,
No.
but you are correct.
But certainly, I think it is logical to address by making sure people know how to clean and care for their bags. And were there even the remotest chance of problems with that, I think cleaning their bags properly would largely alleviate that. And I appreciate your willingness to help with that.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And otherwise, I think the ordinance looks great. I applaud our city staff for getting us this far. It's hard to believe that China, which is not one of the great environmental nations, is ahead of us on this issue, as well as 76 counties and cities in California. The interesting thing is many of these cities were inspired by LA's action in beginning to look at this to pass their own ordinances. So there actually are dozens that have moved forward because of what we've done, even though we haven't done it yet. In fact, when I introduced my original motion, which would have banned both plastic and paper, there were cities across the country that immediately actually passed tougher ordinances than we're considering today that did ban both plastic and paper and required only reusable bags. We have 26 neighborhood councils representing nearly 1 million people who have sent in letters of support, nearly a quarter of the city that understand why it's important to clean up our neighborhoods and protect my environment. And Mr. Chair, I look forward to hearing both the EIR and the ordinance in full council this month, so the city council and the mayor, each of whom has worked hard on this issue for years, will be able to finalize it together. And I urge you to ask President Wesson to schedule it before the full council as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, colleagues? Mr. Zine?
Well, it's about changing human behavior. When we go to the market, we do our shopping, and then we go to the checkout stand, and then we say, I forgot my bag. Now, that has happened to, I'm sure, every single one in this audience. And I carry a number of bags in my car. And we haven't conditioned ourselves as a society to do that, and this will compel us to do that. it's changing human behavior. Just like we've changed human behavior with smoking. And years ago, people would be smoking in public buildings. People would be dumping their cigarettes on the beach and in the sand. We've changed human behavior, and this is just one more step of changing human behavior and cleaning up what they do to discard the plastic bags. So it's a long time in coming, but what we need to do is just train people and educate people as to the impact. And we have our landfills are past capacity. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do with the mass that we accumulate with our growing population. So this is not great science. This is logic and common sense that has been a long time to this point, and hopefully we can then adopt the standard. I have one more bag here that'll add to the bags that I already have, and it's just that mental state that I got to take this in the market, because once you're at the checkout stand, you're not going to be able to run out to your car and get the bag and then run back and pay the bill. You've got to do it at that time. And that's the biggest concern. I think people will oftentimes say, I forgot the bag in my car, forgot the bag in my car, forgot the bag in my car. So I think it's just this 10-cent issue, 5-cent issue, whatever we want to charge or we're not going to charge in certain areas. It's just about changing that human behavior. And I know my office is giving out bags. Neighborhood councils, every neighborhood council I know has got bags. These are cloth bags, the plastic bags, whatever. I don't think it's going to put anybody out of business. When it comes to those jobs that folks were talking about, how many of those manufacturers are based in the city of Los Angeles? Does anybody know? Public Works? One? None? Okay, so we're talking about employment within the city of Los Angeles. And no disrespect to our neighboring communities, that's all part of LA County, state of California, but you take care of your backyard first. Our backyard is LA City. Not one of those businesses is in the city of Los Angeles. So we're not going to displace people who are employed in the city of Los Angeles. And I think what happens is those places will then convert, because this bag's not going to last forever. This bag will not last forever, and eventually someone will dispose of it, hopefully properly, in the recycle bin, and then it'll go through the process. But this isn't going to be one bag that's going to last you for the rest of your time on Earth and every time you go shopping. So we know that. So there'll still be a market for manufacturing of these bags. I understand 25 pounds is supposed to carry. Is that what the ordinance had? I thought it was 25 pounds. And when we have these made from the different companies, we need to make sure, as I recall, it was, and I thought that was reasonable, but I want to make sure that's what the condition was.
Yeah, the reusable bags, the durability standards that are to be able to carry a minimum of 22 pounds, 125 times over a distance of at least 175 feet. So you fill them up with that amount, and I guess people walk back and forth, and you make sure that you can actually use it that many times before you recycle it.
Okay. So that's sufficient to create that environment. The other aspect I had, the 10 cents, where is that money going to go? We talk about the 10-cent charge if someone forgets the bag.
It's considered a store charge. The store keeps the money. In the ordinance, we describe the use of the money is to pay for the bags, obviously the paper bags, for the education, for the use of reusable bags, and on the ban, basically to recover their costs.
Well, the 10 cent goes to the store.
Yes, it does.
And they will then use that. Are they going to lower their prices because people bring in their own? In other words, if you'd use this instead of the store bag, you're going to save 10 cents on your final purchase?
Well, some stores already give me 5 cents for each reusable bag that I bring in.
Okay.
Many of the grocery stores, Target, I go in and I get 5 cents off my bill for every bag that I use. So we already get a little bit of a savings because of that.
Well, I go to the big box Costco.
Oh.
The big box. And
Costco
what you do,
doesn't have
you get a big box. That's
Right.
what you get. You ever go to Costco? You don't get a bag, you get a big box. Not really friendly to carry home, but that's what you get. And is there any requirement on the advertising that they do some advertising Because if you got the big chains and you got the small stores and this and that between, is there any requirement that you do a certain amount of education on the public? You've got the Ralphs, the Kroger, Safeway, Vaughn's Pavilions, Albertsons, and then you've got like Vallarta, which is an independent. Is there any requirement that they do some education with part of that 10 cents that they're going to charge?
It's one of the uses of the money that they get. We do not have specific requirements, but a huge part of the outreach is going to be partnering with the Grocers Association and the other associations for chains, and even the mom and pop stores, to make sure that they have the information for their customers. We're going to provide a lot of the outreach and just ask them to post it or to make it available to their customers.
Okay. So, I mean, after a period of time, people will then recondition themselves to carry the bags. I mean, it'll just be like anything else. You don't smoke in public buildings, you don't smoke 25 feet of the entrance, et cetera. The other thing, so I'm totally supportive. I'm sad it's taken so long, and hopefully when we get the CIR back for the hearing, we can get this approved before Mr. Alicon and I go to the sunset. We'd like to have this approved before we fade off into the sunset. But I want to thank the organizations that are here. Thank you.
You may go off into the sunset, but I'm going to
You'll be
doing
riding
other
right-
things. Jeez, how are you?
You'll be riding right beside of me, partner. But the fact that you came down here and spent this time, it means that you're concerned about this, and I appreciate that. I know there's some critics, and there's also some people that are supportive, but the fact of the matter is you've all taken the time to come down here and express your thoughts and your wishes on this, so I personally appreciate that. The commission, thank you for the commissioners. The folks that are here, it's a hassle coming downtown, unless you live downtown. I know the challenge it is from different parts of Los Angeles to get here, and the parking and going through security and all that kind of things. Like going on an airplane, you got to arrive early to get there in time. But thank you for coming down here. Your message has been heard. I am a strong supporter, and I'll continue to be that. And I will hopefully, as of today, keep this in my passenger seat of my car, so next time I go marketing, I'll keep it with me instead of thinking out of the back of the trunk. Thank you all very much. I'm done.
Mr. Alicon.
Yes, I have an admission to make, and that is that I am an addict of plastic bags, and this illness it permeates almost every aspect of our society. So while I am not alone in this addiction, it is something that I struggle with day in and day out. And I know that it's very difficult for people to transition themselves, as I find it difficult to transition myself out of this horrendous addiction. In fact, almost weekly and sometimes daily, I admit, I fall off the wagon. I can't help but use that plastic bag to separate my tomatoes from my potatoes in the refrigerator. When my kids were babies, I put their Pampers in plastic bags. I used them. They were very convenient. They made life easier for me.
Which means you reuse them. True.
I didn't interrupt anybody. So yes, I reuse them. I do. I think most of us do, if we get real. But I do have a 5-year-old daughter, and that means a lot to me. Her future means a lot to me. The quality of her life in the future means a lot to me. And in the final analysis, weighing both sides of these arguments, and by the way, the opponents of this, they make very realistic, pragmatic arguments that cannot be ignored. They shouldn't be ignored. They should be embraced as our challenge. Dennis hit it right on. This is a cultural shift, and cultural shifts are not easy. But if I want my daughter to have a clean, healthy life, then I have to weed myself off of this addiction, and I have to do everything I can to get society to do the same thing with me. I know that it's difficult when you're balancing this concept of specific jobs in a particular place. And I don't care what jurisdiction it's in, jobs are jobs and people are entitled to work. But the fact is that while we're shutting down a small portion of a particular industry, we have the potential to grow an entirely new industry. So we're trading jobs over here for jobs over there. And if we're lucky, Dennis, we'll create those jobs right here in Los Angeles.
I hope.
As was mentioned, the fashion district will benefit. That will create jobs. In terms of our environmental degradation, you know, we have ignored it far too long. I equate this passage of our society into this new culture with the realities that we experienced when the seatbelt laws were passed. And I was asking over here, when did that happen? And he actually remembered. He said 86, and it was 86. Geez, he Googled it. But in 1986, we required in California that people use their seatbelts. The federal law said that every car had to have a seatbelt way back in the 60s. But just last week, I read in the newspaper that 5 people were killed and ejected from their vehicle because they weren't wearing their seatbelts. Cultural shifts are very difficult. And if you don't think this is our responsibility, then you don't know what government is supposed to be doing. It is our responsibility to clean the ocean. It is our responsibility to make sure that our kids are safe at the beaches. It is our responsibility to make sure that our water treatment facilities will not be hampered by these objects. It is our responsibility to make sure that that we educate our public as to how to be better actors in our society. The plastic bag ban is such a cultural shift. All the controversy around it is indicative of that. It's not an easy challenge. And this law is not perfect, and I would only hope that we are correct, because we cannot project the future. But it is our belief that while we may not solve all the problems, and while much of the testimony is hyperbole on both sides, we are absolutely certain that there will be improvements in the long term. And I would only say that as Dennis and I leave and the next generation of elected officials emerge, I would only hope that they continue to explore this issue to get us to a more finer program that improves us even further. And I know Paul Koretz will do that. So this is not something that is easy for society, and we should not think that once we pass this, we're done. This is something that needs continuous improvement, but we absolutely believe that in doing this, we are moving our city forward in terms of its environmental health, in terms of its physical health, and in terms of improving our general culture about our brothers and sisters, taking care of our brothers and sisters. That's what this is about. And so I am very proud to be able to vote for this, and hopefully we can vote for it on the floor of City Council before we leave. But this is a cutting-edge action, and all I can say is thank you so much to all of the organizations who provided the information, who did the research, who specified the details, who volunteered the time to be able to bring us to this position, to make the leaders easy followers, because that's what's going on here. This is a movement that is coming from the next generation. They're demanding this of today's leaders, and we're happy to provide that action. So congratulations to all of the advocates and to the city staff who've done a phenomenal job. And hopefully next year I will be free from my addiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kretz.
Yeah, just one more question before
Sure.
you close this off. I wanted to ask one question of our Public Works Commissioners. I wonder if we could ask Commissioner Maddox and Nutter to come up for one moment. Just for the record, on the employment issues, I wonder if you could remind us of what the board found out about plastic bag employment in Los Angeles and about Kathy Brown's testimony at the Board of Public Works on October 12th, 2011.
I actually will defer that question to Commissioner Nutter because he was actually present at that meeting in 2011.
We had a hearing much like this 18 months ago, and we had many of the same people come and testify, American Chemistry and others, the grocers. Those who were opposing the ban deferred to Kathy Brown, who's the general manager of Crown Poly, to talk about what the number loss would be. She indicated that there were 3 companies, including her own, that had 300 workers, and that 700 could potentially lose their jobs. When I questioned her closely at the end of the hearing, she acknowledged that about 95% of their sales were out of the city of LA, and that this was only a portion of the work of Crown Poly, so that instead of a loss of 300 jobs, you're talking about a loss of maybe 15 jobs, which would be a normal attrition level in a plant of 300. So it did not seem at all, when we listened to the 8 workers who came and testified that day about their fear of losing their jobs, it seemed that a large number of people would potentially lose their jobs in this one plant, but that turned out, we're looking at perhaps a dozen. And the other places, we also had a group of workers come in, which were brought in by Tracy Castillo with a large plastic company that's based in New Jersey. They had workers from Omega Extruding and Epsilon Plastics who talked about the fear of losing their jobs. And Tracy Castillo spoke tearfully about the potential loss of work. As it turned out, Sigma Plastics and these companies don't make that product, these plastic bags, in LA County at all. So there seemed to be a certain amount of hyperbole, as was indicated.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, let me clarify some things. Well, first of all, I do want to thank everybody. We've come a long way. One of my objectives when I was handed the chairmanship of this committee was to move this item forward, which had been stalled in this committee for some time. And within that 1 year, we moved forward and completed an EIR and had several hearings. And for those of you who've been in these meetings before, no, it is not Groundhog Day. It seems like it is. We've heard all this before. But I think we've come a long way. And unfortunately, like I said at the beginning of this meeting, City Clerk's office did not agendize this correctly, and we need to make sure we do everything legally and correctly. And so therefore, I'm going to recommend that we do not move on the ordinance. We need to move on the ordinance and the EIR together, that we forward the ordinance to a June 17th hearing along with the EIR. But we are going to instruct the city attorney to revise our draft ordinance that's before us today. I'm going to make a recommendation that we remove the 6-month period during which free paper had been required. That is that leniency period that we talked about. That will make it consistent. If we remove that, that will make it consistent with the counties. And I know that is something that actually my office proposed as a way of helping people adjust to the change. But in speaking both to the advocates and the industry, we found that perhaps it's not going to have the desired outcomes we would like. So we would want to remove that from our ordinance that we will see June 17th. We will set a start date of January 1, 2014 for large stores and July 1, 2014 for small stores. And if that's not workable, please let us know at the June 17th meeting. And lastly, we're going to add Mr. Koretz's motion to exclude old growth fibers consistent with the LA County ordinance. Is that correct, Mr.? And you had one other item, Mr. Koretz?
And also if we could add the
care and washing
section that talked about bag care and washing.
The care and washing instructions on the tag required for reusable bags. If we could add that to the ordinance. So we'll make those adjustments to the ordinance, bring it to June 17th along with the EIR at a special Energy and Environment Committee. We will hopefully schedule this for June 18th at the City Council meeting. I will work with Mr. Weston's office to do that. And finally, on item number 2, which is Mr. Park's motion, we will receive and file that item. Okay? So is there any objections to that? No objections? See no objections? We'll see you on June 17th for this item. Thank you. Any other items? That completes the agenda. Meeting adjourned.